Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84. Now, if you happen to catch my video on Sunday, both in the short and the long videos I did a short video where after Storm Amy, I found some pineapple guavas or feijoas on the ground. As far as I'm concerned, very, very premature. They're not a bad size. The two on the left are Triumph, they were on the lawn, and the one on the right here, which has some slight damage on it, that was actually caused earlier in the season by it catching on a branch on the tree. But this is a Gemini. It's actually quite a decent sized fruit, probably the largest one on the tree this year, so I don't know if they'll get larger in the future. But that was also on the ground, and that one I'd put in a mesh bag to protect it. Now, I don't think these are actually probably not fully ripe, but I thought it'd be fun to, as I've got quite a few left on the plants, I thought it'd be a good idea to open them up and have a look inside in comparison. They could be ripe. There's a little bit of lightness to the colour, and of course I could leave them in the fruit bowl for a few days, but as the weather's nice and I've got time to do a video, I thought I'd make the most of it today and do the tasting today rather than leaving it for another time. Now, as to differences in comparison, what I have noticed over the short period I've had pineapple guavas growing, especially the Geminis, it's a newer variety for me, is that the Triumph are quite a lot more knobbly and ribbed, and I've normally found them to have had a slightly thicker skin, whereas normally the Gemini, especially the smaller fruits, have been quite a lot smoother. There's another one here actually. It's got a very, very small skin on it, and generally very shiny, smooth skin, I should say, and generally I've found that the skin has been thinner on them and more palatable if you're one of the people who like to eat the skins. So I thought we'd cut them open and see what the appearance is inside, and if they have any of that nice jelly centre, or if they're actually still very hard inside. As I said, they may have fallen off because they're ready earlier this year, because we had a very early start to summer and the plants flowered earlier, or they may simply have come off because the wind was too much for them to stay on the plant, in which case they may not be ripe at all. They could be quite acidic and hard inside, but we're going to have a look at them both and see. And I'm going to flip the camera around and do a direct comparison for you, and we'll see if there's any difference in flavour if they are a little bit ripe. So bear with me while I flip the camera around. Now, obviously, if you follow my channel for a long time, you know I've done plenty of pineapple guava tastings before, so we know kind of what to expect on them. I quite like the fruits. I'm going to start with the Triumph, the one that's got a yellowish tinge to the bottom of it. Now, that might be that colour because it was behind leaves and branches and wasn't getting any sun to it. So we're going to cut it in half. Now, this one's got a sort of four-leaf clover pattern to it. Now, I have found that Triumph doesn't discolour too quickly when it comes off the plant. Interestingly, the seeds, as usual, are quite pale. They're not dark, so they haven't ripened off properly, the seeds, so possibly not viable, which is another indication that the fruits are not properly ripe. But there is some jelly in, and I normally find the more jelly there is, the nicer the fruit is, because that has more sweetness in that section. It gives it a good texture. But we're going to taste it. It's not hard, the flesh, it's quite soft, which is promising. So let's see. Yeah, perfectly edible. Not the level of sweetness they normally have. It's quite sharp, this one. Quite sharp and refreshing. But it is edible. It's not got a bitter acidity to it, but definitely not as ripe as it should be. I'm going to cut off a cucumber slice, thickness slice, with a skin, so I can try the skin for you as well. You can better see it translucent like that. hasn't got that strong. They normally have a more of a medicinal, floral flavour to them, so that's nowhere near what I would hope it would be. Let's have the other rest of this half. Waste not, want not. They're normally a lot more, almost a medical taste to them, but that one's simply underripe. I'm going to do the other Triumph as well. This one appears to have a little bit more jelly in the centre, so I'm wondering if this one might be a little bit riper. As I said, I could leave them in my fruit bowl, but I decided to do the tasting for you today as the weather's good and the time is right. Feels about the same level of firmness to the flesh. The flesh tends to be a little bit grainy, I find, on Triumph. I've always called it Triumph because I bought it as Triumph and it was labelled as Triumph, but with pineapple guavas it's not easy to be sure because the fruits and the plants look near identical, so you can't be sure that you're getting what you think you're getting. Now, the Gemini is a much larger fruit. Hasn't got any, it's got a little bit of give in it, but I'm thinking that it more got blown off by the wind rather than actually coming off because it's fully ripe. But let's cut this in half and see what the Gemini looks like inside. At first I was going to say it feels harder, but actually once I got through the skin, you can see there's more of a, the larger they are, the bigger this sort of jellified section. As I said, it looks a bit like a 4-leaf clover. Lucky for some. They don't always have that because this other Triumph is a slightly more complex, almost like a 5-lobed shape to the inside. So quite a substantial size Gemini. I'm going to cut off a slither to put to one side. That cucumber slice as a comparison for people. So let's see what this one tastes like. Very juicy. Definitely got a different flavour to it. I would say the skin, the flesh is a bit less grainy, which is what I found before when I have had a Gemini. The flesh is less grainy than the Triumph, and that fruit was definitely a little bit more ripe, but I'm hoping the others hold on the tree until the end of October. Let's look at that slice for you. Cucumber light slice, because I'm going to eat the skin. Skin's definitely thinner and more edible on the Gemini. The flesh is softer on this one, so I think it helps it's a bit more ripe. Yeah, much sweeter. Less tangy, because I think the other one was obviously, the Triumphs were obviously not quite as ripe, so they're a bit more acidic. Again, normally I detect a more medicinal or floral taste and smell to them, but this Gemini is not quite developed that strength to it. I think probably because again it's not a full ripeness. Let's eat the other piece, the Triumph. Yeah, Triumph's definitely not as ripe. Still got a soft centre, so it was edible. I'm just going to take the smaller one. I'm going to cut this lengthways, which is heresy on a pineapple guava, but I just want you to see, this is another Gemini. I want you to see what they look like when you cut them acrossways, but that's not how we like to eat them. We like to eat them across, we like to cut them crossways, like a kiwi fruit, so you can see that nice shape across them. So let's see what this one's like. In fact, I'm going to eat the skin on this one as well. definitely a thinner, more edible skin. I can see a very slight discoloration of the flesh on this one as you expose it to the air. They do tend to oxidise a bit. Seeds are still green, nowhere near ripe, so that's definitely been taken off prematurely by the wind on that one. Nevertheless, they were very pleasant, and I think of those ones I prefer the Gemini, to be honest, because obviously I would think it's fair to say that the Gemini is more was riper, that particular fruit. It was a large fruit, but normally I would say my favourites are the Mammoth, but it tends to be because I've had larger Mammoth and they've ripened later and they tend to have more of the sweet flesh in them. But I hope you found that of some interest, a comparison. Obviously, when eventually the Mammoth are ready, and I have got some unique coming as well. I think there's only 2 or 3, but they're quite small fruits. We'll better compare those as well. So thanks for watching the video. Please give me a thumbs up. Please do remember to share the video if you think anybody would be interested. Subscribe to my channel and remember to click on the bell if you'd like to know when new videos come out. I'll see you all soon. Brett out for now.